be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, all guests present, this is a special provincial official funeral for Mr. Sunny Girja Singh, and we'd like to acknowledge the
program directors, comrades, of the Executive Council, the Speaker of eThekwini Municipality, Councillor Thabani Nyawase, the former Mayor of eThekwini, former Councillor James Nxumalo, leaders of the SACP, the leadership of the African National Congress, led by we enjoy the freedom we have today. We therefore want to thank the Singh family. We want to thank your mommy for sharing your beloved husband, brother, mother, and friend and grandfather with us as a nation. Having served 10 years on Robben Island, Comrade Sunny's spirit remained unbroken. He went on to serve the ANC in exile, where he continued his work as an Umkhonto weSizwe operative, later joining MK's military intelligence. As we pay our last respect to our comrade, we must pause and reflect on our own contribution towards fulfilling the vision of such struggling stalwarts, a vision of a just, equal, commitment to the struggle epitomized the selfless and visionary qualities required to confront the challenges we face today. We are indeed robbed of his wisdom, which would have been instrumental in the renewal program of the African National Congress. His dedication to justice and equality must inspire us to take up the baton and recommit ourselves to the fight for a South Africa free from social ills such as drug abuse, teenage pregnancy, violent crime, inequality, and gender-based violence and femicide. Ladies and gentlemen, it is significant that Comrade Sunny's passing coincides with the commemoration of 165 years since the arrival of the indentured laborers. Last week, we celebrated the world premiere of the film, The Cane Carter, which honors and recognizes the contribution of South Africans of Indian descent to the fight against colonialism. As a country still grappling with poverty, unemployment, and inequality, we must draw inspiration from the bravery and resilience of this son of the soil and tackle these challenges head on. We must ensure that the legacy of this struggling stalwart lives on for generations to come. Let us emulate his leadership qualities of selflessness, discipline, bravery, accountability, and unity of purpose as we advance the noble goal of building a better life for all. Hamba kahle, Comrade Singh, hamba kahle.
Thank you very much, Councillor Kaba, the Mayor. I now call upon Mr. Michael Mabuya Kulu, who is the coordinator of the KZN Provincial Task Team of the African National Congress, to come and read the obituary of Mr. Sunny Singh.
Thank you very much, Program Directors, Ms. Govender, as well as Dr. Lomo, the Honorable Premier of the Province of KwaZulu-Natal, Honorable Duli Mpemba, the Leader of Common Business, Honorable Duma Chombeni, His Worship the Mayor of eThekwini, Councillor Kaba Nonkosi, as well as Upungane, Mr. Jeff Hadebe, who is the provincial convener of the African National Congress, all distinguished leaders. But may I then stand on the protocol, but pay special attention to the family, the Singh family, Umila in particular, and the entire family. As I read the obituary, may I then request that we all stand as a sign of respect for our fallen hero. from Ketomena to consciousness. Sunny always began his story with a place. He grew up in Mkumban, Katomena, a crowded working-class settlement on the edge of Durban, the youngest of the 5 brothers and 2 sisters. His father had come to Natal as an endangered worker. His mother worked long hours as a factory machinist. The family shared small rooms and big dreams. Their landlord, an Indian slumlord, became his first immediate enemy, teaching him that exploitation could come from one's own community as much as from the state. As a boy, he watched people humiliated over rent and arrears and saw decent families live in fear of eviction. Schooling came late. Because there were so few schools in the area, Sunny only started primary school around the age of 11 to 12. He finished standard 6, grade 8, near 18 years, by which time he was already working to help support the household. Political awareness came early. As a teenager, he watched the 1956 treason trial unfold and helped raise funds for the accused. The passing of the Group Areas Act, the removals from Ketomena, made him see how law could be used to destroy the entire communities. He later said that these were the years when the awareness campaign began to develop, that what he had experienced with the landlord in Mkumbani was part of a much bigger system. In the mid-1950s, he found his first political home in the Natal Indian Youth Congress and the Natal Indian Congress under Dr. Monty Naika. Later, he would remember the potato boycott as the moment when these organizations truly became home. From then on, the path was set, a life lived in organized resistance, rooted in the streets and lanes of his childhood. As repression tightened after Sharpeville and the burning of the ANC, Sunny was among those who concluded that peaceful protest alone would not stop the violence of the state. in the then Natal. In February 1964, he was sentenced to 10 years on Robben Island. He arrived there at the age of 25, one of a generation whose youth the regime tried to bury in stone and salt water. Prison meant thin food, hard labor in the lime quarry, and constant attempts to break their spirits. Yet, Robben Island also became, in Sunny's words, our university. He read widely, studied politics and history, and for about 8 years, led the clandestine news network that smuggled newspapers, radio bulletins into prison. Through hunger strikes, petitions, conditions and build support for the movement. In 1990, he helped organize the Mandela's first official visit to Holland, including meetings with the Dutch government and Queen Beatrice, and a mass rally in Amsterdam, attended by about 20,000 people. Sunny returned to South Africa at the end of 1991. Back in KwaZulu-Natal, he re-immersed himself in political and community work, he helped establish an education initiative that offered Saturday extra lessons in townships such as Guamashu and Inanda. And over 3 years, around 400 learners passed matric through this program. He was part of the Natal Congress team at CODESA, contributing to the negotiations that would shape the new democratic order. In 1992, he married his dear wife, Umila, in a small ceremony in Durban. On the same day, he gave his young bride a glimpse of the next 33 years, straight after the vows he took her to a rally at the Caris Fountain, where she changed out of her sari into jeans and turkeys, and in the back seat of the car. After the 1994 elections, Sunny joined the police service in Durban, serving in crime intelligence until 2008. For him, transforming the security forces was not an abstraction. It meant turning instruments of fear into services accountable to the people. In his later years, Sunny poured his energy into keeping the story of the struggle alive for new generations. At Moses Mabhida Stadium, he helped build South Africa in the Making Museum, a historic photographic and audio exhibition that turns Shop 7 into a small living freedom museum. He was a trustee and former chairman of the board, and a constant contact and overseer of the space. He was a familiar sight, welcoming visitors, curating stories, and using the exhibits as a quiet classroom for community and political education. Even after decades in struggle, Sunny worried about the future of the country he had fought for. He spoke frankly about unemployment, inequality, corruption, and the need for moral leadership. But he also insisted on hope, the belief that South Africans could resolve the crises for the good of the country. That is Sunny's life. Rest in peace, Comrade Sunny. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mabuya Kulu. And as you will see, Sunny's history is wide, varied, at times colorful, and the people present here reflect that spread of his experience. So as I've said before, you have a whole range of people, be they veterans, be they people that he served when Mkhonto Wesizwe with, be they people that he served with in the government apparatus of crime intelligence, people that he worked with at the Monty Naika Commemoration Committee, and others. And in fact, I must, already do what they call fashionably a disclaimer. There has been such an outpouring of grief, sympathy, and recognition of Sunny. Messages have come from literally throughout the world, as well as locally, hundreds of them. And we're not going to be able to do justice to them at this funeral, but as we proceed in remembering Sunny's life, all of those will be acknowledged. So if you don't hear a message read out, it's not because it's not there. It's just that there are so many, and I think we all know about people's egos. We're not going to pick and choose here. I'd like to call Viroshan, if you can just organize the musical item. And as this comes on, just to say, you'd have noticed that there are no prayers and religious ceremonies. It's not that Sunny was disrespectful. He was very firm in his conviction of not believing in following any particular religion or God, but his values, etc., were absolutely rock steady. So that is why you don't have any of the rituals. But this musical item, just to say, Sunny loved music, a range of music. So we've put together a list of musical items across the various genres that he enjoyed. So let's have that, please. Thank you. Sunny had an extended family, right? Tommy's family, Urmila's family was his family and very, very close to them. You know, in the last few days when we've been with the family, you could see the love and the care that he experienced from them. So it's only fitting that we call upon family members to do their personal tributes to Sunny. The first person that I'm calling is the grandniece, Ms. Risha Soni, who will come and deliver a tribute.
Sunny Masa's life belief was, rather the hands that serve than the lips that pray. Good day to one and all. It's difficult for me to put into one speech the impact that Sunny Masa has had on my family, but also our nation. He was a true humanitarian of note, a selfless and humble man who knew how to put the needs of others before his own. Sunny Masa always wore the badge of his nation, South Africa, proudly on his chest. As I walked through the doors of his home, he would greet me with gentle, open arms and the warmest hug. My problems always felt so minuscule as I observed him watching the news on his couch, a cup of tea on the one hand and his yellow stress ball on the other. His feet up and a wide smile across his face. That's who he was. A man who knew how to live simply, but also fully. He had the most contagious laugh, a smile that lit up any room and a warm presence that was always felt. Listening to all his valuable worldly knowledge about his journey and the struggle has always inspired me to work hard and to make him proud. Growing up, he would tell me all these political jokes that I didn't always entirely understand, but I laughed nonetheless because of the way in which he said it. That was the special thing about my Sunny Masa. He knew how to interact with any age group. Sunny Masa was my sense of reason, my hero, and someone I knew I can always look up to. He always poured his grandfatherly love and endless affection to both Nero and myself. His enthusiasm and resilience towards life will always inspire me to do my best. Sunny Masa was never afraid to express how much he loved us and how proud he was of us. Whether it was praising Nero and I on our academic achievements or telling my mom how lovely the food she made was, he always knew how to bring a smile to my face. Whether it was trying to teach us to play tani at the dinner table or discussing the latest current affairs of the news and the world. I will never forget him pulling the red card on my Urmila Masi and how it would make everyone burst into instant laughter. My dearest Sunny Masa, I pray that God welcomes you with both his hands open and forever keeps your soul at rest in his palms. I pray that you rest well, South Africa's hero, and I hope that you continue to guide us all from above. You will be missed, loved, and remembered forever. Hamba kahle, Sunny Masa.
Thank you, Risha. Risha spoke about the red card, and I saw the smiles on people's faces. Sunny was very fond of giving a red card to us. If you were out of order, if you did something wrong, sometimes it was a joke, he'd wag his finger at you and say, "You're getting a red card." Sometimes, when he was upset, the red card was pulled out as well. So that's a memory that we have of Sunny. I'd now like to call Sunny's brother-in-law, Mr. Ashwin Soni, to deliver a tribute. Now, when Ashwin was talking to me, he was asking about how does he greet people and all, and I said, don't worry, you are family, you just speak as you please. So come, Ashwin.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We gather today with heavy hearts to honor a man whose presence filled every room, not with noise or pride, but with purpose. My brother-in-law Sunny was many things: a devoted husband, a loving family member, trusted friend, and a remarkable leader. But above all, he was a man who believed deeply in people. As a public servant, he excelled beyond all bounds. His success never changed him. Instead, it allowed him to change the world around him. He believed that leadership meant service, that power meant responsibility, and that progress was only real if it uplifted others. In a time when trust in public life can be fragile, he proved that compassion and conviction still matter. He proved that one person's dedication can inspire many. But beyond the public figure was the man we loved at home. To us, he was someone who laughed easily, who listened fully, who could turn even the ordinary day into a memorable one. He was the kind of brother-in-law who made you feel you weren't just family by marriage, you were family by heart. Today, we don't just mourn his passing, we honor his legacy, a legacy built on headlines, but on the many lives he touched. A legacy that will live on in the communities he served, the policies he shaped, and the people who were lifted by his kindness. To my sister Urmila, you helped him regain what should have always been his rightful place as our leader, and helped Sunny teach and mentor everybody around him. And though our hearts are broken, we take comfort in knowing that his work, his spirit, and his love remain with us. We carry his lessons forward to speak up, to serve others, and to act with integrity, even when it is difficult, and to believe that a better world is worth fighting for. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashwin. And I must say that Ashwin has been a pillar of strength to Urmila in these last few days. Can we have a musical item?
Hasi
We now go to the section of the funeral where we deal with tributes from the organizations and people that Sunny worked very closely with. And I'm going to start by calling on the South African Communist Party for a message. I know Yunus Karim is here, not sure where he's seated. Right, Yunus.
Program directors, the Premier and the provincial government, ANC and Communist Party veterans here, comrades and friends. Some people are great for just being who they are. That's Sunny Singh. Inherently, and in a way, genetically good. Lucky for our movement, that inherent nature found its fullest expression in the struggle for liberation and how to. Comrade Sunny was always, everywhere, anytime, right up to his last breath. His up and down health notwithstanding. If he wasn't at a political meeting, you'd be surprised. You'd think he might not be well that day or have some other engagement. It was his political contribution, his character, his personality, and his way of connecting to anybody and everybody in and outside the movement that has led to this endless, massive outpouring of grief, empathy, respect, adulation, and sense of personal loss, even from people who didn't know him that well, for him in the social media and elsewhere. There must be very few people, comrades, friends, in our movement who can elicit this sort of spontaneous response. Clearly, I'm not the appropriate person to speak on behalf of the South African Communist Party at this memorial. Comrade Ronnie, who knew Sunny and who worked with him and knew him much longer and in a much greater depth, we had understood as the party would speak on our behalf. There was some misunderstanding, and it emerged late yesterday afternoon that he would, of course, speak, it seems, speak at the crematorium. So I tried to reach the national office bearers who were stuck in a meeting with the ANC NEC about the matter of the party wanting to stand on our own independently in the elections. And it was very, very late last night that I was told, if Comrade Ronnie can't speak at the hall, you will have to speak on our behalf. So you stuck with me. And this is not the first time when the national office bearers don't turn up. So I see myself as a replacement, like a person on guard every time the Communist Party doesn't deliver a national office bearer. And mind you, I don't feel good about it, but hell, I'm the only SACP Politburo member in KZN. Comrade Sunny is known, but I must say to you that Comrade Soli Mapaila sent me a message this morning again to emphasize that he conveys his good wishes to this memorial and his deepest condolences to Comrade Umala and family and those comrades and friends that are very close to Comrade Sunny. Comrade Sunny is known for his ANC and MK roles, but not enough of his role in the SACP, to which he remained committed, if not active. Interestingly, in an interview he gave me, he said that his father was a rice grower and a flower planter. So they leased land. I see it's covered in the overview of him. But let me put his words to you. This is exactly what he said. My political history started with my first experience of exploitation at age 11 or 12. Not consciously, but emotionally. It was the most vicious exploitation by Indian landlords. I hadn't come across white people at that time. So you could say it was a class issue within the Indian community, although I didn't realize it until later. It was the evils of landlordism. We leased land from one of them, and they were very, very cruel. And that's when I began, in my own right, to understand a class enemy. So his Marxism didn't come from his relentless reading, but from personal experience of class exploitation. Ivan Pillay says that he was, in fact, Sunny was, Mac will remember, I'm sure Ronnie will remember, at the 1984 SACP Congress, which discussed the issue of the National Executive Committee of the ANC being open to all races. And Sunny, Ivan says that Sunny played a seminal role in influencing the outcome of the SACP, and a year later at the Kabwe conference of the ANC, that was indeed what happened. It was opened up, the NEC, to all races. Comrade Sunny had an instinctive empathy for the poor and marginalized, so he was impelled into the SACP. And he would every now and then send WhatsApp articles to us about Marxism. And some of them came from very remote sources. I have no idea how he found them. Comrade Sunny, of course, could at times be very argumentative. And sometimes it seems to us, well, to me at least, over small things. And he could be very blunt. But you could never get irritated with him, as you would say with any other person. Sunny had such an endearing, overwhelming personality and such a moral force that you succumbed. I remember interviewing him for the interview I quoted from. And at one stage I asked him, I said, who recruited Klaas de Jonge, the Dutch internationalist, into the political underground? So he said, well, I did. So I said to him, but I hear that actually interested. His calm demeanor disappeared. He got up, very irritated with me, and he said, hey, were you there? So I said, no. So how will you know? So I said, yeah. He says, you know what? How are you going to write a book if you don't get the facts right? And then he calmed down, and you just loved him for him. You know, I describe this to other people who know him much better than I do, and they all said that's typically him. That was such a wonderful exchange. Almost always, if Sunny criticized somebody, he'd end up saying, but I love him or her. Or he would say, it's such a lovely person she is, or he. It seems, to me at least, that it came from a very deep love, very deep within him for people. Of course, as with so many others, he was obsessed with and angered by the increasing corruption of our movement and our incompetence. But for all the difficulties in our movement, as others have said so far, he never gave up on it. His resilience shone through the very core of his being. Comrade Sunny was born to be pro-poor and progressive, and he has passed on being that. And he will live on through those of us who stay the course. Thank you, Sunny, for being who you are. Thank you, Urmila, for being who you are. I cannot imagine, can you, ever seeing Urmila without seeing him? And their love shines through with all those images, thanks to the organizers. They love you. You don't have to say anything. Just look at them. There's no photograph I saw there that didn't have Urmila there. And we convey our condolences once again to you and your family. The SA salutes both of you, Comrade Urmila. Thank you for having us here. Hamba Kashle Mkonto.
Thank you. That was Yunus Karim representing the South African Communist Party. Now, there are several people here who worked with Sunny on what was his last project and one that he gave much of his time and heart to, the Monty Naika Commemoration Committee, and the South, which hosts and runs the South Africa in the Making exhibition at the Moses Mabhida Stadium. Sunny was one of the original founders, together with Mac Maraj and a group of other people. There's Dilly Naidu, who has come down from Gauteng, who were part of the founders of this wonderful exhibition. If you haven't seen it, please do go and see it. It depicts South African history and current issues marvelously, and in a way in which it's designed to make people think and look at how we can build this country. And that was something Sunny was very, very strongly committed to. So we felt that we should include in this program a message from the Monty Naika Commemoration Committee, shortly called MONAC. And this is the message, I will read it out. The Monty Naika Commemoration Committee, MONAC, a tribute to Comrade Sunny Singh. It is indeed an honor and a privilege to pay tribute to a true son of the African soil, a mighty warrior in every sense of the word. The Monty Naika Commemoration Committee was established in 2010. Since its inception, it has undertaken numerous activities towards the noble aim of building a nation founded on unity, non-racialism, non-sexism, and secularism. Its flagship project has been the establishment of an exhibition around the theme, South Africa in the Making. Together with Comrade Mac Maraj, Sunny Singh was the driving force, motivation, and inspiration behind this project. Every Saturday morning, Sunny, a former chairperson of MONAC, could be found in the exhibition at Shop 7 Moses Mabhida, passionately sharing the story of our struggle for freedom with local and international visitors as well as students. The gems of wisdom he imparted were a revelation to many who passed through the exhibition. Numerous workshops were organized under his leadership to showcase our proud history. His engagement with school children brought him particular joy. His warmth, humor, and affection were infectious, and young people gravitated naturally towards him. Sunny was an extraordinary individual, a perpetual optimist who gave of himself with unmatched generosity. A humble patriot, he dreamt of a nation free and equal for all. Utterly fearless and unwaveringly brave, he worked tirelessly despite the personal risks and consequences that often accompanied his actions. Let our exhibition, South Africa in the Making, stand as a lasting memorial to his life, his labor, and his immeasurable gift to the nation. So that was the message from the MONAC committee. I'd like to say that the last event that was organized by MONAC was a screening of the film on Oliver Tambo. It was a unique screening in that this is not something that has been widely disseminated, and given the personality and the kind of person that Sunny was, he was able to twist the arm of the foundation, the Tambo Foundation. We were able to screen that film. It was very, very well received and well attended, and I think some of the discussion around the teachings and values of Oliver Tambo that were generated at that gathering by young people were quite interesting, and an indication of the intention behind this exhibition. So we do appreciate that, and we remember that fondly. And Urmila, of course, was the driving force in ensuring that function took way. Our next speaker is someone who tells me that she's nervous. I don't understand why. They say that dynamite comes in small packages, and Sue Rapkin is maybe smaller in that regard, but not in any other way. Let me call upon Sue Rapkin, who is down here as presenting a message from the ANC Veterans League, but somebody who was in the trenches with Sunny. Sue?
The Veterans League of the African National Congress dips its banner in tribute to Comrade Sunny Singh, a revolutionary, a warrior, and an exceptional person. I always thought Bobby was his real name, until we came home in 1990 and everyone started calling him Sunny. But I knew his surname was Singh because he used to tell me the Singhs, his ancestors, were warriors. I'm going to talk about his time in Maputo because not only was that period of the late 70s and early 80s a crucial time for the movement, but it was when he was based for nearly 9 years in the same house, the internal house in Maputo, Mozambique, the home of the internal political reconstruction machinery. After the Morogoro Conference in 1969, the ANC leadership recognized that the ANC was in a crisis. They saw that the membership was losing confidence in them, since little progress was being made and comrades were not being successfully returned home as trained guerrillas. There was dissatisfaction and grumblings, and the dreaded possibility of the organization splitting, of collapsing, was rearing its head. The organization was losing direction. The ANC was in a serious crisis. Led by OR, the leadership went to Vietnam to consult the Vietnamese leadership. Arising from that engagement, a new strategy was drawn up and captured in what was called the Green Book, which in essence outlined the concept of the 4 pillars of struggle: mass struggle, the underground, armed activity, and international work. This resulted in the ANC having to turn itself upside down. Mass struggle supported by armed activity would destroy the apartheid regime. The leadership in exile at the time had the courage to implement the new strategy. The Internal Political Reconstruction Department was created falling directly under the Revolutionary Council. What was internal political reconstruction? It was what it was called, the reconstruction of ANC political structures inside the country. Since the ANC was banned and forbidden to operate in South Africa, we were forced to operate underground. The structures, therefore, had to be created underground. Countries neighbouring South Africa were identified as forward areas and were used as external bases from which to work. However, the countries were very different from each other, and there was little uniformity. They also had different relations with the ANC. Thus, the comrades working in the machineries, both military and political, operating in the forward areas, had to adapt to each specific environment in order to survive. How one operated in Swaziland was different to how comrades could operate in Botswana, and so forth. Common to all, however, was the constant danger from the South African security forces, and we suffered many, many casualties. When Frelimo came to power, the close relations they had with the ANC in exile continued, and unlike many other countries, they gave the ANC lots of space. They made it clear that until South Africa was liberated, Mozambique would never be free. Whilst Frelimo allowed us to operate relatively freely, they also didn't probe too deeply into what we were doing. So unlike the other forward areas, working in Mozambique was relatively relaxed, and it wasn't too difficult to operate there. Bobby and I, on many occasions, drove up to the border town of Namasha in the middle of the night to collect comrades who had crossed into Mozambique illegally for training, debriefing, and briefing. When we were stopped at a police roadblock and we said we were ANC, they immediately let us through. However, setting up underground structures inside South Africa was highly sensitive and had to be kept secret. So even in Mozambique, secrecy and discretion were necessary. In addition, the apartheid regime tried very hard to infiltrate our structures, so the caliber of the comrades based in the forward areas had to be very high. Trust and integrity are key components of underground work. I've given this broad brushstroke to understand how Bobby, arriving in a foreign country, not speaking Portuguese, managed with all of this. Well, he managed just fine. Of course, having come from the great political school of Robben Island, he was quick to grasp the importance of underground political structures to lead the struggle inside South Africa. The ultimate goal was to return the leadership into the country. Underground structures had to be set up inside the country to initiate and support mass political activity, which in turn would be supported by armed activity. Bobby internalized the slogan which described it best. Between the anvil of mass struggle and the hammer of the Between the anvil of mass struggle and the hammer of the armed struggle, we will destroy the apartheid regime. It sounds simple, doesn't it? But it was highly complicated and very difficult. Comrades coming out of the country had to be crossed illegally into Mozambique, security screened, trained both politically and militarily, if possible, housed, fed, clothed, and transported without anyone knowing. Nothing glamorous, just hard work. And Bobby set about this in a way that was quite extraordinary. He built a network and infrastructure in Mozambique secretly. This network provided secret accommodation for cadres and other supporting infrastructure. But most of all, he made contacts from comrades in the Soviet embassy, the Cuban embassy, and comrades from the GDR embassy, to Dutch and Italian cooperants based in Mozambique who had responded to Frelimo's call for help to support the new government. For Bobby, this was what international solidarity was all about. And he did all this with that fabulous sense of humor of his, always looking on the bright side, but always critical and outspoken. He was extraordinary in another way too. The ANC in Maputo was an interesting mix of comrades. Heading the administration were two very senior comrades who were very strict about dispensing money and adhering to proper administrative procedures. At the same time, heading the military machineries were senior commanders of MK, impatient to go and fight. Then there were the cadres of the machineries, nearly all of them from MK trained, poised to be sent back into the country to operate underground. And then there were the huge influx of students coming to join MK. The students were influenced and politicized through black consciousness, but joined the ANC to fight. And lastly, there were South Africans who were in Mozambique because they had personal links with Mozambique through marriage, etc. They also provided support. Bobby traversed these generations with ease, paying equal respect to all. This was an unusual quality, reflecting a high level of political maturity. His warmth and love of telling jokes and funny stories made him accessible to all. Bobby internalized the basic foundational principles of the ANC as expressed in the Freedom Charter, of unity, of non-racism, and equality for all. He encompassed all that in his very person. Bobby loved the ANC, its politics, its leadership, and the goals to which we aspired. At the same time, like most ANC cadres, he was often angry with the movement and frustrated by the difficulties we faced in setting up structures in dangerous conditions. But his commitment remained until the end. He was vocal and extremely worried and concerned about where we are today, and many of us share that concern. Bobby, may your beautiful revolutionary spirit rest in peace. A luta continua.
Thank you very much, Sue Rapkin. And as you can see, Sue has covered the spirit of internationalism and the massive amount of international work that preceded our freedom. It didn't just happen. Oliver Tambo pioneered the reach out to the world to get them to look at apartheid and to support the anti-apartheid struggle. Sunny was one of the foot soldiers who ensured that in terms of influencing other countries to support our struggle, the hard work was done. And his role, particularly in the Netherlands, is something that we cannot underrate, because he created very strong support bases for the African National Congress. The other side of Sunny, and we've got comrades who are here dressed in their combat gear, and we're quite insistent that this also, his role in the armed struggle, be recognized. And thank you for being present with us. We have a message here from the MK Liberation War veterans, Mr. Comrade Muntu Ngumalo, if you will come forward.
Program Director, Program Directors, Comrade Meki and Comrade Sbongiseni, Premier of the KZN, Mr. Taminduli, National Leadership present, PTT Leadership, RTT Leadership, Comrade Mayor, Comrade Cyril Kaba, councillors and government representative present, security cluster, the Alliance of the ANC, MKLWV, ANC Women's League, the provincial leadership present, all the political leadership and the security cluster, the Singh family, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. Humility and simplicity are the antidotes to the poison of ego. I stand here representing the MKLWV, being asked by the leadership. I was asked this morning that, no, please go and represent us. At times, it's very difficult to represent somebody senior than you, because in the program it is written, Comrade Denhato, our national chairperson, he said, Comrade Muntu must go and represent us. So I'm speaking on behalf of the MKLWV. I was thinking I was coming just to sing and dance only. I was not prepared to come and speak. But I think what Comrade Sue Rapkin has said is half of the things I was going to say. I won't repeat them. Comrade Ubobi, I met him in 1977 in Angola. We are from engineering camp. We came to Funda camp. He was our section commissar. We called him Bobby because we know that we have our names. I was with Comrade Ukayo Ngumalo, Comrade Santana, the late Comrade Carlos, the late Tamatis, the late Senzen, and others. There's something remarkable that I want to say about Comrade Bobby, because he taught us politics. We never knew that he was a member of the South African Communist Party. But in our classes, we felt, because we're fresh from home, things he was teaching us, we said, this one must be a communist. He's teaching us serious things, telling us about dialectics, because we're coming just to learn firearms, sabotage, urban guerrilla warfare, and other subjects. But he came with very hard concepts, political concepts. And we said, he must be a communist, because we've never seen a communist in South Africa. We just read about communism. And there was a propaganda in the past that communists have horns. They're being feared. So that we had that propaganda, so we had that, from that propaganda that we had from home, everybody that speaks will immediately identify or align, oh, this one must be like this. But I'll speak about 2 or 3 things that Comrade Bobby taught us about the core values of a revolutionary. He was a true revolutionary. He was not just a freedom fighter, he was beyond a freedom fighter. Because we have freedom fighters, or we also have revolutionaries. He taught us dialectics in our class, because our class, from our section, and for the first time we had the term dialectics. We tried to understand in English. Politics and English sometimes can differ. Because they say in politics, a thing is and a thing is not. It is always in a state of becoming. And you can say it's a contradiction in English. You would know, how can you say a thing is and a thing is not? But it's how politics is all about. This is how Comrade Bobby taught us. And dialectics as a method of reasoning which aims to understand things concretely in all their movements, change and interconnections with their opposites, and contradictory sides in unity. This is what he taught us. But we said, how to teach us something that are contradictory? He said, no, you will learn this. And we took about a good 9 months learning politics in our training, just steadily, and until we got ripe. And we said, hey, Comrade Bobby, we're tired now of politics. We came here to get arms and shoot, and going to shoot back home, because I was part of the 1976 June 16 detachment. I said, no, ours was to come and revenge what the Boers are doing at home. He said, no, but Comrade, you must know politics. because you must know who your enemy is. And he taught us the laws of dialectics, which was very strange, that the first law is said as transformation of quantity into quality. It becomes very strange for us. The second one say the unity and the struggle of the opposite tendencies. And he would take his time explaining this concept and also the negation of the negation, that law of dialectics. See, this is what he was telling us. And he told us about being a revolutionary, there must be values. There are values of a revolutionary. He said there are core values. He taught us that no, being revolutionaries, we must add value on everything that is being done, on the organization. Remember that at the time in 1977, 76, because I left home in 1976, I grew up in exile and prison. And later, I had a very good struggle experience. I mean, to grow up was my youth, it was castrated. And I had to learn a lot of other things in Robben Island. But he also taught us discipline. He said, no, if you are a soldier, you must be disciplined, not just discipline, but must have an iron discipline. And also democratic centralism, how it works. All those concepts, what Comrade Bobby taught us, and integrity and the rest. I think that's why I'm saying, Comrade Sue has said half of what I was going to say. I don't want a repetition, because repetition, I mean, a repetition becomes problematic in politics. The person said, no, as I conclude, and they continue to speak. I won't say as I conclude, but I'm saying thanks to the Singh family, Comrade Omila, and all the comrades that were around Comrade Singh that we have borrowed us. This is a revolutionary. Today we're here to say we're paying our last respect. He has been a true teacher, a commissar, a true commissar. Thank you.
Thank you, Comrade Muntu, from the MK Liberation War veterans. And I think showing us, an important aspect of Sunny's life. I'm going to read a message from someone who would have wanted to be here, very, very close to Sunny, along with people like Comrade Mac, friend, colleague, comrade, probably a brother as well, who cannot be here because he is in the Netherlands, and wrote a very short message because we asked him to. Obviously, he has much more to say, but for the purposes of this funeral, he penned a few words. And this is Ivan Pillay. So his message: Sunny landed on his feet in many situations as an activist, a saboteur, a prisoner, a released prisoner, a banned person, an exile, a returnee, a policeman, and a pensioner. And he was always moving forward. In recent years, Sunny committed himself to the Monty Naika Foundation in building awareness of our history and in building a democratic South Africa. He is the reason that some of us joined the ANC, and his example is a reason that some of us have questions about the ANC of today. Sunny showed us that what matters is that we are not immobilized, that whatever we are, we must take practical steps to strengthen our democracy. So that is a message from Comrade Ivan Pillay, who is unable to be with us because he is in Holland. I'm going to hand over to my co-program director, Dr. Dlomo.
Good day to our Chief Mourner, Honorable Premier, the Leader of Government Business, Mtombeni, and all those who are from the government, our family that is really accompanying Mam Mila, the leadership led by Baba Uchef Hadebe, who I will soon call. I noticed that we also need to recognize the entrance of our Sisters and Mothers Women's League and the entire mourners who are gathered here. One of the missing parts on Comrade Sunny Singh's obituary is that he was prison number 67 who arrived in Robben Island in 1964. So when you get into prison, they make you lose your identity. It doesn't matter how loud you tell them who you are. they continue to call you with your number, and you remain that number until you get released. Part of wanting to knock you down, but we are very strengthened to know that this giant never succumbed. I'm going to be inviting another leader whose prison name is number 70/86. He was prisoner number 70, who arrived on Robben Island in 1986 and was doing 10 years. We'll actually invite him to have his message that he would like to share with us. I now invite you, our provincial leader, Comrade Jeff Hadebe. Thank you.
The wife of Comrade Sunny Singh, Umila, the entire family of Singh, the Honorable Premier Dooley, the directors of the program, my colleagues and comrades of the ANC, KwaZulu-Natal, our veterans, Mek Maharaj, Sue Redkin, Red Ronnie Castrils, and all others, I greet you this morning. Comrade Sunny Singh belonged to that rare generation of patriots who, at the height of apartheid terror, chose courage over comfort, sacrifice over self-interest, and struggle over silence. He was among the first generation of MK volunteers, those brave women and men who stepped forward in 1961 when the African National Congress, having been banned and brutalized, turned to armed struggle as a necessary form of resistance. When peaceful protest was violently crushed, when hope seemed dim, when the apartheid state believed it had silenced our people forever, it was cadres like Sunny Singh who reignited that flame of freedom. Under the command of Kenny Ndlovu and Billy Naya, he joined MK unit that undertook sabotage operations in and around Durban. Those actions were never acts of recklessness, but carefully planned political interventions aimed at shaking the pillars of apartheid and demonstrating that our people, the oppressed, will never submit quietly. That he was arrested with his unit along stalwarts, as I've said, Billy Naya, Riot Mkhwanazi, George Naika, was not a defeat, but it was a badge of honor, a marker of loyalty to the sufferings and aspirations of millions of our people. Sentenced to a decade on Robben Island, Comrade Sunny endured the harshest conditions the apartheid regime could impose, and yet, like so many of his comrades, he walked out of prison unbroken, unbent, and undeterred. Robben Island forged leaders. It did not crush them. It sharpened their political consciousness and deepened their love for the people. Comrade Sunny emerged from that crucible of suffering as a disciplined cadre, a thinker, a strategist, and a soldier of the revolution. I first encountered Comrade Sunny in 1976 during my articles at the law firm Archie Kumede and Phyllis Naidu here in Durban. He, together with other released political prisoners, devoted themselves to supporting, guiding, and politically educating young underground operatives like myself. Amongst those present was my comrade in arms, Mdukuma. Sunny took it upon himself to give us practical lessons in evading physical surveillance, teaching us the art of survival under a ruthless security apparatus. His stories were vivid, humorous, and profound, and always grounded in the political clarity and the discipline that defined his generation. He joked about how, upon his release, he did not recognize the fashion shift from miniskirts to maxi dresses. A small but very telling reminder of how imprisonment robbed a generation of even the ordinary rhythms of life. But his lessons were never trivial. They were preparations for the intensifying struggle of the late 1970s and early 1980s. Our paths would cross again in December 1982 in Maputo, when Comrade Sunny, together with Indris Naidu, briefed me on the horrific Matola raid of the previous year. That brutal attack by the racist South African Defence Force claimed the lives of many of our comrades, including Mdukuma, and remains one of the darkest stains on the apartheid regime. Sunny's ability to analyze, to interpret and explain the enemy's operations with precision reflected his growing stature within the ANC's Department of Intelligence and Security, where he later played a very indispensable role. After the democratic breakthrough of 1994, as we have heard, Comrade Sunny continued his service to the Republic, this time in the formal structures of our democratic state. He joined crime intelligence as a colonel, contributing to the development of the new nation's security architecture. He did so with the same humility, the same dedication that had defined his years in underground work and Umkhonto weSizwe. He served until retirement with honor, with distinction, always maintaining that the true test of a revolutionary is not only how one fights in times of oppression, but how one builds in times of freedom. I last saw Comrade Sunny this year on the 20th of September at the launch of Yunus Karim's book entitled Attacking the Heart of Apartheid. This book recounts the historic operations of the Special Command's operations, including the 1980 bombing of Sasol. Sunny's presence in that gathering was very fitting, for he was part of the same Special Operations Network, providing intelligence support for some of the most daring acts of resistance our movement ever executed. Even in his later years, he remained sharp, engaging, humorous, and deeply, deeply committed to telling the story of the struggle with honesty, with humility. Comrade Sunny represents the best of the ANC tradition: principled, disciplined, selfless, committed to justice, unwavering in loyalty, and guided by the moral clarity that defined the leaders of this generation. In him, we saw the embodiment of Tambo's quiet strength, of Lutuli's moral courage, of Sisulu's humility, and of Hani's unwavering commitment to the dignity of the oppressed. His life is a reminder of the caliber of leadership South Africa produced in the darkest hours and the caliber we must strive to reproduce in his own time. On behalf of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal, I extend our deepest felt sympathies to his wife, Umila, his family, and all those who loved him. We thank them for sharing them with our nation during times when the cost was very high and the sacrifices immense. His life enriched our movement. His service strengthened our revolution. His example will guide future generations. Your journey, Comrade Sunny, continues in the freedom you help secure. Your courage lives in the movement you build. Your memory remains eternal in the heart of our people. Hamba kahle mkhonto.
Hamba kahle, hamba kahle, qhawele. Hamba kahle, hamba eqhawele. Hamba kahle, hamba kahle, eqhawele. Hamba kahle, hamba eqhawele. Just to add on, what also did not appear in Comrade Sunny Singh's obituary is something that is probably not well known by many of us. The sacrifice that they made when they went to Robben Island was that there were two groups of diets. There was an F diet and a G diet. You belong to the G or F diet depending on the color of your face, of your skin, and the shape of your hair. Most Indian comrades were given a better diet called G, and the other comrades were given an F diet. Now, it was the comrades who were like Comrade Sunny and the one I'm going to introduce now, Comrade Meg Maharaj, who were advocates. No, but give them the same diet as us. I mean, the amount of things that we were expected to have was Phuza Mandla. Phuza Mandla was something that looked like a concoction of meal and something that you could just, and when Indian comrades were given juice or something else. So when we arrived in Robben Island in the late 80s, they said, "Oh, you guys, you came to Robben Island, it was already a hotel," because in the 60s, all comrades without fail were wearing short pants. And it's very cold in Cape Town. To be in short pants, winter or summer, it was a terrible thing. Now, when we went to Robben Island, we were sleeping on the beds and mattresses. Comrades in the 60s did not have beds and mattresses. They were sleeping on that floor, on the mat on the floor. So those are the struggles that they were actually exposed to, which we benefited, even though we went in the late 80s, we were told that, no, you guys are in the hotel, we are not on Robben Island. And this comrade who now is who addressed us was prisoner number 9 in 1965. I mean, some of us were not born then. So that is the type of life that we have gone through. We are glad, Comrade Mac, that we are able to make time to be with us here. I now invite you to address us and 9/65. I mean, he also did not have a name. Meg Maharaj was here. In prison, you are number 9/65. You must jump when they call you that number.
Thank you, Program Director. I won't tell you what's in this. I'll leave you to guess. Allow me to begin with a word of comfort to the families of Comrade Sunny and Urmila in particular. Urmila, you have been a life-giving and enriching partner to Sunny. The outpouring of tributes record our overwhelming desire to perpetuate the legacy of Sunny captured in his lifelong dedication and service in advancing our path to freedom, to a life spent as a beacon of hope in difficult and challenging moments, such as the one our country and our organization is right now passing through, where faith in democracy and the future seems under threat. So walk tall because of the life you shared and the strength you rendered to each other in your journey together. When we honor Sunny, we honor you because you have been inseparable. I have spent the last few days reflecting on the meaning for all of us of the way in which Comrade Sunny led his life. He was the salt of the earth, the kind of person who was the backbone of the struggle, honest, dependable, and genuine, a people's person who was an organizer, always in search of drawing people into the struggle, because he understood that change happens when people act together, and that the content of social change is the empowerment of the people at the individual and the collective levels. He understood that it was not enough to have embedded in our Constitution of the Republic the goal of building a society based on equality, non-racialism, non-sexism, unity, and democracy. He understood that our task is to transform our society on the basis of democracy so that those principles and that vision in our Constitution become the lived experience of all who live in South Africa. That the activist and the organizer remains the key to making that change happen. We live in an age when politics has become a career, when becoming a leader has become an overriding ambition. It is an age when the functions of leadership and that of an activist and an organizer diverge. A huge gap opens between those who govern and those who are governed. Sunny never succumbed to that temptation. He served wherever and whenever and in whatever capacity he was needed. He served as a foot soldier and as a leader, but he never made leadership an ambition. He understood that at the heart of the renewal of our organization, the need is to restore the critical interconnection between a leader and an organizer, and that the forward movement of our country requires a deepening of our democracy by making it participatory. These, friends, are the attributes that belong to the DNA of our liberation struggle. Sunny leaves behind us a valuable institution that many have referred to already. An institution that captures his activism and leadership, even when he retired from active service. In 2010, we came up with the idea of commemorating the life and service of Dr. Monty Naika, who was central to transforming the Natal Indian Congress into a mass-based militant organization that saw the future of the Indian community in South Africa inextricably linked to the liberation of the African people. The impact of the Monty Naika commemoration inspired us to deepen the process by developing an exhibition that tells the story of South Africa's path from apartheid to democracy. It now bears the title of South Africa in the Making. It is an exhibition that is the product of a small collective who bought into the idea. Sunny brought most of those who became the core of that collective. It is an exhibition that was designed and installed and is run by volunteers and is funded by donations. The only assistance it receives from the state and the city is that it is allowed to be housed at the Moses Mabhida Stadium. Sunny saw the importance of ensuring that young and old understand where we come from. He was pivotal to drawing others into the project and mobilizing a process where, with the assistance of Gangs, Praveen, Reggie, Tim Shabalala, teachers and learners began to visit the exhibition. Sunny was always there to receive them, to share with them his experiences, and to learn from them the challenges they face and how life was changing in South Africa. Without fail, and up to his last moment, he would be there on Saturdays together with Jay, Bala, Hemant, and Tommy, while Reggie and Portia kept it open throughout the week. It stands today, in my view, as a monument to the legacy of Sunny, who combined activism and organizing with leadership. In the course of my reflecting on the meaning in which Sunny lived his life, I have come to recognize that he was a better person than many of us. I have asked myself, how is it that Sunny came through the struggle with a sense of caring, his humanity so intact? It shines through all the tributes that have been paid to him. Apartheid, colleagues, was brutal and an inhumane system. We fought against it to reassert our dignity, our humanity, and to live out our commitment to building a caring and humane society. But the rules by which we waged that struggle were largely determined by the apostles of apartheid. They resorted to mass removals. They were lawless and violated their own laws by torturing and murdering detainees, poisoning activists, massacring within the country and beyond our borders, developing and using chemical and biological warfare. We tried to conduct ourselves by different rules, to change the parameters of the rules of that struggle. Late President Oliver Tambo, on behalf of the ANC, signed a declaration in Geneva of our adherence to the Geneva Conventions of 1949 and the Protocol 1 of 1977. The apartheid regime did no such thing. But I recognized that that it was a brutal struggle and that it impacted on us in different ways. I believe that Sunny's sense of caring, his humaneness, was partly innate to Sunny, but that he also took a conscious decision as to what he would take from his experiences and what he would leave behind. He chose how he would lead his life. He chose to live in the present for the future. In an hour-long interview on the BBC that Comrade Indras Naidu and I shared in 1977, the interviewer asked us whether and how imprisonment had changed us. Without giving it a moment's thought, I replied that at the time I went to prison, I could only kill in anger. That I had come out of prison knowing that now I could only do so cold and calculatedly. I was immediately shocked at myself, at my response. And on air, I acknowledged that in the pursuit of a humane cause, my own commitment to humaneness was being brutalized and tainted by the rules of war imposed by the apartheid system. When I read the tributes and see how deeply caring and humane Sunny was, I recall that response of mine on the BBC, and I have to recognize that Sunny was a better person than me. I have lived through many difficult and trying moments in my short life. Those difficult moments took their toll on me and my family. But Sunny always reached out to Zarina, to my son Milu, and my daughter Jo, to help them to remain strong. It is only after his death that I found out that he regularly checked on each of them to find out how they were. I won't tell you the rest of what he told them. But so many comrades and friends have told me that he was unwavering in his faith in me and that he always covered my back. I will miss him. Hamba gase, Comrade Sunny, kawe, lama kawe.
Thank you very much, Comrade Maharaj. Don't worry about Comrade Maharaj. He's still that secretive. He says, I won't tell you this, he means it. There are certain things he's still keeping to himself and to all of our underground processes. Honorable Premier, we thank you very much that in the busy schedule of last week, you were able to, with your government, make a proposition and a request to the presidency to make this funeral the way it is today. We are here today on this special funeral requested by our Premier and government to the presidency, and we are delighted that they actually granted this permission. Even though you were very busy with G20 last week, you managed. How you did that, we really thank you very much in a busy week like that. We don't take that for granted for the stalwart that we do have to lay to rest today. I now want to invite another leader who is the MEC for Transport and Human Settlement, but also in his capacity as a leader of government business, who will then introduce our after his remarks, introduce our Premier. He's in the and we wish him well in all these processes that he meets. It's a very difficult portfolio, but siyabonga kakhulu Mthombeni Lwandle.
Thank you so much, program directors. You've been doing a great job by calling the leaders with their numbers. Then you just change the tune when I had to come. Unfortunately, Provincial Chair Makulukulu, when you met our beloved fighter, I was only months, I was still defined in months. Let me greet all the program directors, 3 of them, Comrade Meki, Comrade Dinangwe, Chaplain Kumete, who have done a sterling job. The Singh family, led by the matriarch, Mama Uma. We are greeting the entire family, the Premier of the province, who's the chief mourner today, acting DG of the province. The leadership of the ANC is led by Upungane, Comrade Ndiema, Comrade Thusi, and the entire collective Mandlanduna, the veterans of our struggle who are here. I've just spoken after one of our own, Comrade Maharaj, Comrade Maharaj. That was his nom de Gure, Comrade Castrels, Comrade Sue. We are so honored that you are here blessing our shows. On behalf of the SACP, they've also already spoken. Kabatela, Comrade Karim have spoken. The guerrillas of Umkhonto Wesizwe were represented by Uzwide. The entire mourners who are here. Indeed, there is inadequacy of words when we have to define such characters, because there were few remnant who've just excelled in their shows. Whether you say he's a giant, it's not adequate. Whether we say he was a revolutionary is not adequate. Whether we say octagon of excellence is not adequate. Whether we say a galactious human being, it's not adequate. Whether you say he's a thinker, an idealist, the words will never be equivalent to what he has done in our shows. So we are honored and privileged for those of us who have been given a platform. Little did we know that we'll be afforded such opportunity in one of the defined, well-decorated revolutionary who blessed our shows in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. I like when Comrade Ndiema read in his obituary that dynamite Indian. If that era, it was not defined correctly, Zwide. Today, it is befitting of their characters. Even when the program director, Dinangwe, is saying them in terms of numbers, I understood really that apartheid wanted to emasculate them because they wanted to dehumanize them. But today, those symbols are even bigger in characters. We are glad and delighted leadership. And at that particular time, Africans in particular, in their character portrait, were not taken serious, only because Comrade Sunnies of this world fought for this struggle. All of this is known to you. Why do I recount it? Is that we may not, as we enter Comrade Sunny Singh today, bury with him the moral that his life holds for those of whom remain. And it is the privilege that we are just talking about them because it is critical. To begin with, the totality of Comrade Singh's life and the meaning it holds teach us that the life of service is not defined by an event. Exploit in one political battle or benevolent act may indeed earn one well-deserved applause and acclaim. And he understood. I'm glad, Zwide, you've already elaborated on the concept of what does dialectic mean. He understood that being a political representative in government is critical, but dialectically also understood that government as a site of struggle must be occupied in all corners, including being a kernel in the crime intelligence. That's what he did. He would have chosen all 3 spheres of government. He was equivalent to the task. He was well equipped as an advanced detachment who understood he's a foreigner, who understood that concept. He's an internationalist, he's a local. He understood all those processes. He then defined himself as a struggle veteran today, as you understand. I wouldn't want to be long because the aim is to introduce the Premier of the province, but as well, I would want to take this opportunity in thanking the President, President Matamela, for according him this type of an opportunity. I know the family were reluctant in the initial phase because they said he wanted his funeral to be just as simplistic as it is, able to identify his character portrait. But we insisted that no, he is the giant. No, he is the leader who has excelled. So if you have done a great job, then you must be accorded with such. And I'm sure, Mama Umila, you'll always remember that your husband was one of an excellent human beings, just like you, and will always come and imbue our depth so that we also understand, because in your own right, you've contributed as well to the struggle. I'm now just going Calavanted straight in introducing the Premier of the province, who have already been thanked by the program director, Dogotela Tinangwe. Premier of the province is the son of Nkandla, grew up in that area. I'm told he had his father's cattle in that area. He also, in that process, joined the trade of pedagogist. He is the teacher by profession. He taught in different schools. He then became a school principal. Eventually, I'm told he joined the organization called IFP. He was then given a platform to be a councillor, eventually a mayor in Nkandla municipality, went further to be the mayor of King Cetshwayo district. In the last year, the 24th of June, he was then given a platform to be the premier in the province of KwaZulu-Natal in the 7th-term administration. Can those who qualify or want to stand up in the ensuring that we honor and welcome the premier of the province to the podium? Baba T.A. Ntuli, you are given an opportunity to speak as the chief mourner. The platform is all yours. Siyabonga kakhulu.
Thank you. Thank you, MEC Duma, who's the leader of government business, program directors, Dinangwe, Dr. Lomo, and Maggie Gavenda. The Singh family and relatives present, the leadership of the ANC led by Ubaba Uchef Hadebe, the leadership of SACP, the leadership of the MK LWV. I think I'm pronouncing it quite correctly. Well, also the veterans from the ANC, the monarch, all the senior leaders who are present here, the members of South African Police Services present, acting DG, and officials from government, members of the media, fellow mourners. I must say, I stand here on behalf of the people of KwaZulu-Natal and the provincial government to first and foremost to thank you, Mrs. Singh, for allowing Ubaba Using to lead the struggle that has delivered the free South Africa today the free KwaZulu-Natal today. We come together with heavy hearts to honor the life of Mr. Sunny Singh, a son of KwaZulu-Natal, a leader shaped by struggle and a patriot whose journey reflects both the pain and the promise of our nation. Mr. Singh was born into struggle. His early years unfolded against a backdrop of deep hardship, social inequality, and the heavy shadows of historical injustice. Like so many families in our province, he's carried the weight of a generational poverty, displacement, and political conflict. Realities that shaped his character, sharpened his resolve, and ignited a lifelong commitment to justice and dignity. His personal story cannot be separated from the broader story of South Africans of Indian origin. It's a story rooted in resilience forged through centuries of oppression and perseverance. His lineage traces back to generations of men and women who arrived on our shores as early as the 17th century, first as slaves and later as the indentured laborers brought to this land under harsh and unforgiving conditions. Among them were the nearly 343 indentured laborers who in 1860 embarked on the Truro, the first ship to dock in Durban, carrying people who would lay the foundations of one of the country's most vibrant and industrious communities. Their struggle for survival, dignity, and belonging became the inheritance of their descendants, including Mr. Singh. In Mr. Singh's life, that inheritance was carried with pride. He represented the living bridges between past and present, a reminder of how historical pain can give rise to courage, solidarity, and an unwavering belief in the possibility of a better tomorrow. His hardship did not break him. They built in him a quiet strength, a clarity of purpose, and a deep compassion for others. He grew up in Ketomeno, Mkumbane, a place whose very soil carries the stories of struggle, displacement, and human endurance. Yet, despite its hardship, Ketomeno was also a community of remarkable diversity, a rare space in our painful past, where Africans, Indians, and people of mixed heritage built lives side by side, sharing not only proximity, but a common humanity. In this mosaic of cultures and communities, young Sunny Singh witnessed both the harsh realities of poverty and the quiet power of solidarity. He grew up seeing neighbors look after one another, families surviving through cooperation, and communities bound by mutual respect. These experiences shaped his worldview, nurturing within him a profound belief in unity beyond race, religion, and background. Ketomeno also bore the scars of forced removals and political conflicts. But even in the face of violence and upheaval, he saw acts of courage that left a lifelong impression on him. He saw ordinary people refusing to surrender their dignity. He saw friendship across racial lines, even when the law of the day tried to divide and dehumanize them. It was in this cradle that his character was forged. From these difficult yet defining surroundings, Mr. Singh emerged with an enduring commitment to justice and inclusion. He carried with him lessons learned in the dusty streets and crowded homes of Katomena, lessons about compassion, courage, and the belief that communities are strongest when they stand together. Today, as we reflect on his journey, we understand that Katomena did not simply shape his childhood, it shaped his calling. It gave him a sense of purpose rooted in the lived experience of ordinary people. And it instilled in him a lifelong dedication to build a South Africa where diversity is embraced, opportunity is shared, and every community, no matter its past, can stand in dignity and hope. As today, you see the government of national unity, the government of provincial unity, we are all standing together today, irrespective of our past. In February 1964, Mr. Sunny Singh was sentenced to 10 years, and it has been explained in particular by those who were with him, not by us who have been told. Imprisoned on a Robben Island, a sentence intended to silence him, to break his spirit, and to remove him from the struggle for justice. Those who sent him behind the walls of that notorious prison believed they were finished with him, just as they believed they had finished with so many others who challenged oppression. On the island, he joined a remarkable generation of political prisoners of Indian descent, including Ahmed Kathrada, M.D. Naidu, Reggie Evandia, and many others. And alongside them were giants of liberation such as Dr. Nelson Mandela, Robert Sobukwe, and many other liberation fighters. What the apartheid system failed to understand was that in imprisoning Mr. Singh, they were in fact enrolling him in what may have called the University of Robben Island, a place where discipline, intellect, solidarity, and political clarity were sharpened by a struggle. It was there that he encountered some of the finest minds and bravest hearts our country has ever produced. Robben Island was more than a prison, it was a crucible of a leadership. Behind its cold walls, ideas were debated, values were tested, and a vision for a free South Africa was nurtured. From that unforgiving environment emerged leaders who will go on to shape the soul and character of our nation. For Mr. Singh, the island became a place of profound transformation. He went there as a young activist and returned home as a seasoned leader, strengthened, educated, and anchored in the unshakable belief that no prison can contain the human spirit, and no injustice can withstand the determination of a people united in their quest for freedom. Mr. Singh's role in the struggle for freedom, both inside South Africa and beyond our borders, was a profound contribution to our collective journey toward justice. Whether he was organizing at community level, supporting underground structures, or lending strength to exile formations, he stood firmly among those who refused to accept the indignity of oppression. His commitment was not symbolic, it was lived, it was risky, and it was unwavering. He was part of a generation that understood That liberation required courage in public and discipline in private. He did not seek recognition or prominence for himself. Instead, he offered his life to a cause greater than any individual, the dream of a South Africa where all people, regardless of race or heritage, could walk tall, speak freely, and shape their own future. But Mr. Singh's service to our nation did not end with the fall of apartheid. In the democratic era, he continued to play an influential role in strengthening the institutions, values, and practices that underpin our freedom. He continued to consolidate, or rather, the consolidation of our democracy with the same integrity that defined his years in the struggle, always advocating for justice, accountability, and the protection of our constitutional order. He believed deeply that democracy is not an event, but a continuous project, a responsibility carried by every generation. Through his work with communities, civil society, and public institutions, he helped build bridges of trust, ensuring that the freedoms won on the streets and in the prisons were sustained in the corridors of governance and in the everyday life of ordinary people. Today, we honor him not only as a veteran of our liberation, but also as an architect of democratic society we continue to build. His life reminds us that the struggle for justice does not end with a casting of a vote. It continues in the vigilance, service, and moral courage required to protect our democracy from complacency and division. Mr. Singh took his last breath on Thursday, the 20th of November 2025, on the eve of historic G20 summit hosted by South Africa. It was a moment of profound symbolism, a gentle closing of a life that had been committed to justice, equality, and the global ideals of human dignity. Even in his final hours, history seemed to echo around him. His funeral today takes place in the glow of a successful post-G20 summit, a gathering where our country demonstrated exceptional leadership, unity of purpose, and diplomatic maturity. South Africa stood before the world, not as a nation bowed by its past, but as a nation strengthened by its journey, a nation ready to help shape global solutions in time of uncertainty. This moment on the world stage is a reminder of how far we've traveled from the days of isolation and oppression. In many ways, the South Africa that confidently hosted world leaders is the very country Mr. Singh and his comrades dreamed of throughout their years of struggle. Their sacrifices carved out the democratic platform on which our public diplomacy now stands, our ability to convene the global community, to articulate African priorities, and to elevate the voices of the global South is a fulfillment in part of the liberation ideals that Mr. Singh generation stood for. As we reflect on his life, we recognize that the freedom and opportunities that make such global leadership possible were built by hands like his, hands that carried the weight of oppression, hands that labored for justice, and hands that never stopped believing in the possibility of a South Africa respected among nations. The success of the G20 summit is therefore not only a national achievement, it is a tribute to the men and women who fought so hard that South Africa could reclaim its dignity in the world. Today, as we lay him to rest, we do so knowing that our nation's rights on the international stage from a part of his legacy, his journey from the dusty streets of Katomena to the harsh corridors of Robben Island to the institutions of our democracy, helped build the country we proudly showcased to the world last week under the leadership of His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa, who did quite very well on behalf of all of us as a country. His life reminds us that global leadership begins at home in the daily pursuit of justice, democracy, and humanity. Fellow mourners, Mr. Singh dedicated his life to building a South Africa grounded in fairness, equality, and opportunity. He understood that democracy is not simple at the casting of votes, but the daily work of governance. I must say, as we prepare to bid farewell to this remarkable son of our soil, let us carry his lessons forward. Let us honor his memory not only with words, but with deeds that advance the liberation he fought for, a liberation that reaches into every corner of our nation, touching the lives of the poor, the marginalized, and the voiceless. In doing so, we ensure that the light of his life continues to guide us, even in the face of the great challenges that lie ahead. I must also thank the leadership of the ANC, because I was not going to initiate to write to the President of the Republic and ask for the official funeral. If the leadership of the ANC, in particular, Ubaba Jeff Hadebe, did not approach me, that I should do so, and I did that without hesitation after reading the history about Mr. Singh. I felt that I need not even to consult the cabinet, but I simply just wrote to the President because I really felt that Mr. Singh deserved to be honored with the official state funeral. On behalf of government, on behalf of the President of the Republic of South Africa and the entire government of South Africa, we wish to say thank you, Mama Singh and the family, for actually giving us Mr. Singh to play the role he played today. Today we are the beneficiaries of the struggle that he fought. We are the beneficiaries of the struggle that Babu Jeff, Babu Maharaj, and many you fought. And we thank you for the good work you did alongside Mr. Singh. Babu Singh, we wish you a farewell. Hamba kahle. Thank you very much.
We are tribute that you have accorded us, the Singh family. We thank you very, very much. Your tribute and the words of comfort are not only comforting the Singh family, but also comforting those who have departed and are still alive within the veterans and the struggles of our country. Siyabonga kakhulu. May we Premier before I come back. Thank you. Okay. We were not aware, Kabazela, that you set your alarm clock a bit different. And so you're coming in now. It's a challenge of a clock and the watch. Siyawamukela Kabazela for joining us. We are going to be getting the lady that I just need to give her a warning. Mrs. Dasha Sandanji, that she must just watch out. Currently, Proteas is beating up India badly in cricket. Now, when you go back home to Australia, just tell them how we are doing in cricket. May I invite you now to do the vote of thanks?
Starting a conversation about cricket is never a suitable thing to do. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I respectfully acknowledge all the dignitaries present this afternoon. On behalf of my aunt, Urmila Masi, and our family, I wish to extend our deepest gratitude to all who have supported us during this very difficult period. I would like to start with President Cyril Ramaphosa for declaring this event as a state funeral, to the Premier's office for submitting the application and for facilitating all the aspects to ensure this event occurred successfully, to the African National Congress, of which Uncle Sunny was a lifelong member. To you, your support, continued support was really appreciated. To all the speakers today for making this service really memorable. I was touched hearing every speech. To the activists and comrades for all your heartfelt messages to Urmila Masi and the overwhelming tributes to Sunny Masa. To the management of Kendra for providing us with this venue on such short notice. And to Newlands City Funeral Service for their flexibility and attention to detail to make this event memorable as well. To Viroshan, who was in charge of the banner, developing the program, the slideshow, and the brochure content. Lastly, to the funeral committee, who came together in these last few days to ensure that they brought everything together to help us farewell Sunny Masa with dignity and grace that he so deserved. So I thank you for your time that you have taken to attend this funeral service. It is much appreciated by our family.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Raksha Tanji. Travel safely after that, going back home. We are coming towards the end of our program here in the hall. Thank you very much for being such an audience in support of the family during this very difficult time. I'm now going to invite my co-program director, Ms. Maggie Govender, to do the announcements and therefore hand over to the chaplain who will conduct not a service. What is the protocol of government on such a day? Thank you very much, Ms. Govender.
Thank you, Comrade Lomo. Just in terms of announcements, after the formalities have been concluded by the South African Police Services and the state part ends, Comrade Sunny will be taken to Clara State Crematorium for cremation. That will take place from 3 o'clock to 4:30. There will be viewing at the crematorium and a program that is being conducted there. So we'd, those who wish to can attend to the crematorium. We'd also say that when the formalities are over and the casket is going to be taken out, we'd like the comrades and family who are going to be present as the guard of honor and the pallbearers, right? You know who you are. Leadership will accompany the casket together with some family members as pallbearers, and the rest of you could do the guard of honor in that case, but please remain standing. I would now like to call the South African Police Services Chaplain, Lieutenant Colonel Gumede, to deal with the final part of the proceedings.
Thank you so much, Program Directors. May I humbly greet our Program Directors, the Honorable Premier, the Honorable MEC, all the distinguished guests. Special greetings to the Singh family. Ladies and gentlemen, I greet you all this afternoon. Premier, we have come today to celebrate and honor the life of our hero. Mr. Sunny Singh's life was a testament to true heroism. It was an urge to serve others at whatever cost, not for glory, but out of deep sense of duty and love. His courage lived on in the freedoms we enjoy and the lives he touched. We will always be grateful for the sacrifices Mr. Singh made for our country. To the Singh family, be comforted and know that God is with you. Even in this journey, he shall be with you. Now I'm going to invite the parade commander, Constable Mbanjwa, and SAPS members to come and conduct the ceremonial part of this special provincial official funeral. Over to you, Constable Mbanjwa.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Okay, we are at the final part. What we are going to do basically is just a simulation of what we normally do at the graveside. But since we will not be going to the graveside, we are going to simulate what we are supposed to be doing right here, starting from the handing over of the national flag by our Honorable Premier to the Singh family and the rest of the program. We request all the SAPS members to please be on their feet, only the SAPS members. While they are falling in, our sequence of events is going to be firstly the handing over of the national flag as a sign of respect to the Singh family. Then after that, it's going to be a simulation of the lowering of the coffin, which the band will then play the Abide With Me. After that, it's going to be the final respect in the form of a general salute to our late Mr. Singh. And then we will have our two trumpeters play the last post and the reveille. And that will be the conclusion of our service. Okay, we will now go on to the handing over of the flag. Thank you. Thanks a lot to the Premier for handing it over. Now we are going to simulate the descending of the coffin. Over to you, Ben, with the Abide With Me. Thanks to the band. Now we have the coffin on the ground as simulated. And then now we are going to do the general salute where our trumpeters are going to play the last post and the reveille. Trumpeters, please. Guard of honor, general salute, present arms. Guard of honor, shoulder arms. thanks to the trumpeter. The parade commander will now ask for permission from the Premier to withdraw the SAPS element. And as they withdraw, we will have our senior managers to pay their last respect together with the marshalling officer to our late Mr. Singh.
We'd like to thank Lieutenant Colonel Gumede, the Premier, the senior officers for what they've just concluded now. Before we move to Clear State Crematorium, may I request Commander Umuntu Ngumalo or whoever he has delegated to drape the coffin with the flag that of the organization that he was so part of until his last breath. Then it will be ready to be moved. You'll move it out the way you would like to move it, as agreed with the family, as the SAPS has now withdrawn with the task that they had actually performed, which we really thank them very much as they leave the hall. Commander Muntu Umalo, with those that we are tasked, come and perform. Thank you very much.
Once the flag has been draped, can we get the pallbearers to be ready and assemble? Yeah, that's arranged. We'll also ask the pallbearers to be ready. That will be the family members who have been designated, as well as the leadership of the organization. And can we also get the rendering of Hamba Gashle to be played? Can we get the rendering of Hamba Gashle? Thank you, everyone. We will now proceed to Clare State Crematorium Hall 2.
It's not the waking of the light, it's not the opening of eyes, it's not the waking, it's the rise. It's not the shade, we should be past it. It's the light and it's the obstacle that casts it. It's the heat that drives the light, it's the fire it ignites. It's not the waking, it's the rise. It's not the song, it is the singing. It's the heaven of the human spirit ringing. It is the bringing of the line. It is the bearing of the rhyme. It's not the waking, it's the rising. And I could cry